Waa-Mu Show is a very extensive process. We began last spring. As soon as the show was over, we gathered the new leaders. We call them the executive committee and the Waa-Mu co-chairs. We began to brainstorm and figure out what are we going to do next year.
Turn the pages, and then you'll
Hi, I'm Caitlin Fine. I am one of the Waa-Mu 2009 co-chairs for One for the Books, our show this year. I'm a senior theater major in the Music Theater Certificate program, and I am, at Northwestern. We're all here. And I'm sitting with my cohorts for the year. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Julie Beck. I am a senior theater and international studies double major in the Music Theater Certificate program. And I love Northwestern. And Waa-Mu.
I'm Kara Refkin. I'm also a senior here at Northwestern, and I'm studying theater and art history and music theater as well.
And I'm Eugenio Vargas, also a senior at Northwestern, majoring in theater, certificate of concentration in musical theater, and actually a minor in music theory and conducting.
Let me tell you about the Mu. It is the most unique experience that I think anyone can ever have. I don't know that there's anything really like it. Anywhere. I mean, you know, what other place can students, you know, from 18 to 22 years old get their music played by an orchestra full of students from one of the greatest, you know, music schools in the country, and conducted by one of our professors and sung by these amazingly talented people. It's unbelievable.
I have seen every Waa-Mu show since I was 8 years old. And my grandparents took me every year, and I always looked forward to the brochure coming in the mail and getting to see what those crazy people at Northwestern decided to do this year. And I've always just admired the creativity of the writers and what Dominic could do with 43 people, lights, and wood. We've spent our 4 years at Northwestern loving Waa-Mu and working on it however we could. The first thing I did here was I sold merchandise in the basement my freshman year, and it's just so rewarding to get to have a real impact on the show and make it what we want.
When your seats you take, you'll see us there. You'll see us there. So excuse us while we book it and prepare.
You know, with anything that's as old as the Waa-Mu Show is, the first show, Good Morning Glory, was in 1929. And anytime you have anything that old that's been going on for this long, you know, you always have this awesome wealth of history of generations upon generations of shows before you that you can really draw from. And especially with our audience, you know, we have a large portion of our audience that is older alumni that come back and remember even being in or seeing the show when they were undergraduates here. And so they always really appreciate us kind of really acknowledging and taking part in the history of our show. Waa-Mu is really about the tradition, and it wouldn't be what it is if we ignored our incredible history.
The tradition of Waa-Mu is really quite surprising to me. It shocks me sometime at rehearsal when I will hear our co-chairs talk about the people who have seen the show in the past, the people who are coming to the show, what they might expect, what we need to do to make sure that they're going to be taken care of. And it's sort of like a big surprise to me, because I expect them to go, who gives a darn what those people think? We're making the Waa-Mu Show. But I love the fact that, because I'm a bit of a traditionalist, I love the fact that my co-chairs and other people in the Waa-Mu Show want this to be an ongoing tradition that will be respected by all of this cast member, just like it was by Tom Rowland's cast members. And as you know, Tom Rowland, the second director of the show, passed away this year, so we're doing a special tribute to him, and that will help keep it on all of our minds about the fact that Waa-Mu has been around for 77 years, and there's a whole lot of people who have invested some very important part of their life to that show, and we're thrilled when they come back and say, oh my God, it's Waa-Mu again. Last spring, we had our first meetings with our executive board and with our Waa-Mu co-chairs, and after many, many meetings, we decided that for this year, the name of the show was going to be One for the Books. It's one for the books. And it was going to deal with all aspects of books and magazines, periodicals, and that the subject matter would go anywhere from French for Romantics to cooking books by Rachel Ray, to many, many poetry books, to Shakespeare, to Tarzan. We're going to have a lot of different characters, a lot of fictitious characters in the musical this year, in the revue. So that is what we have been working on. We sent them home with all of those ideas. We typed up a list of 100 possibilities, and then the composers and writers all went home and said, we'll bring you back some material in the fall, and that's exactly what they did. And we have been refining that all through the fall, and just now we have made the final selection of what is going to be in the show opening on May 1. These are sketches. Okay, there's arms and a very bright floor.
We can't put them here.
The show is about books. We wanted to pick a theme this year that allowed us to explore a lot of different genres and different characters.
I know when we first started talking to people about it, they were like, books, like, what is that? But I think it's awesome because there are so many opportunities, just endless opportunities. Talking to writers, they've liked this theme a lot because it's so wide yet so specific. In past years, there have been a couple songs where you're like, that doesn't really fit in the theme, but like, okay. But with something like this, everything fits in the theme.
The thing that excites me about this year's show, and I told the co-chairs at the very beginning of the process, we've been doing so many shows that are very realistic. They are happening right now, and the performers in the show are dressed just like you and me. They're just in regular clothing. This show, because it is fictional, I have the opportunity to have Alice in Wonderland and the Queen of Hearts and fairy tale princesses from fairy tale books. It allows me a lot more fantastical possibilities for the way we're going to look and the kinds of music we're going to sing. So I'm very excited about the fact that I think One for the Books is going to have a lot more variety this year, and I think that our audience will enjoy that.
All of the times I dismiss her,
Acting like nothing was there.
meanwhile I'm too busy snarking a sister to care. Go where?
Run!
The Harry Potter number is called The Magic of Love, so that you don't give it away. I mean, if you're watching this, you've just given it away. But, you know, it's about the two main relationships in the 7 Harry Potter books, which is Harry and Ginny, and Ron and Hermione. And we've used the stage in a really interesting way. We have these two books that open like windows, and Ron is in one, Hermione's in the other, and they have wands, and Ron has red hair, don't worry. And they sing to each other about how they're each other's Sorcerer's Stone, and all these little book references, Goblet of Fire, Snitch, Quidditch, there's all this stuff in it. And then Harry and Ginny come running on, and they're having their own little relationship, and Ron gets mad. It's really a very cleverly written number, and the 4 people who are doing it clearly love what they're doing, and it's apparent every time they run it. But they're also really talented people and really funny people, and I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser because everybody knows Harry Potter at this point. There's no secrets about it anymore.
Sir,
The students all arrived back from summer vacation. We immediately put them to work and said, okay guys, we will have a meeting every Wednesday night at 11 o'clock. We'll also have a meeting on Sunday afternoons. Book writers go into this room. Composers and lyricists, you go into this room. And then we began the process of throwing around ideas, coming in each week with new thoughts about what the content of a song might be, the style of a song. And we plugged away at that all the way up until Thanksgiving. And when we got to Thanksgiving, we did our first submissions. And one of the wonderful things about what we do is we cast a group of freshmen called Waa-2.
Waa-2s are the group of new students that are selected to perform the first submissions of Northwestern's Waa-Mu Show for the faculty members and give the faculty just an idea of what this show is going to be like when it goes up in 5 months in May.
The great thing about it is that you're really welcomed into the theater community, and it's just a way to, I would say, get your name out there and meet people. And
for a lot of us, it was our first experience with theater here at Northwestern, and I know I made a lot of like my best friends through it. And yeah, like Ali said, it's just so cool to be part of something that you know is going to be so big, but you're just kind of like in the beginning process of it.
I know it seems crazy or like something long outgrown.
But what's so cool about Waa-Mu is that if you want to, you can get involved in any number of ways as a freshman, and then spend the next 4 years being involved in as many ways as you want. You know, there's not necessarily a clear track of how a 4-year Waa-Mu veteran works. You know, Caitlin and I were both in WA2 our freshman year. That's how we got started. Julie sold merchandise. Kara was a PA. I think actually Caitlin was a PA too. And I also sold merchandise. But so there are a million different ways that you can get started, and then Waa-Mu is such a cool tradition at Northwestern and such a cool family that from one year to the next you can do completely different jobs. You know, all 4 of us did varying things our freshman year, and now we've ended up all as co-chairs from our different paths.
The story begins.
It's sort of this great opportunity both for the writers and co-chairs to sort of see what their show is going to look like and workshop material and revise things, and also for us to get a chance to sort of get access to the faculty.
And there's not a lot of exposure for musical theater for freshmen at the beginning of the year. So WA2 was a great way for us to see a taste of the musical theater program at Northwestern and some of the productions that go on outside of straight theater.
So as far as the structure goes, I think the idea is just we love freshmen to get involved in any number of ways that from there they can grow on and continue to be part of the show, whether that's a 4-year cast member, a 4-year crew member, or whatever.
And Waa-Mu is a really big part of the musical theater community and the musical theater experience at
because so many
Northwestern.
people are involved in it. It's almost simultaneous when you say Waa-Mu and musical theater at Northwestern.
There's tragedy, comedy, mystery, romance, and more. What are you waiting for? Let your story begin. Let your story begin. Let your story begin. Story
let your story begin.
Oh, the set is so cool. That's something that's happened really recently too. We saw the final version of the set a couple weeks ago, which is awesome, and like we're so excited about the versatility that it provides.
Behind the screen.
And we did put the moon downstage of the blackout drop.
I would just say this is always the very interesting point in making a show. You've got all the material together, you're handing it out to all the people who are going to really make it happen, and you really don't have a clue whether it's any good or not. We're just still in limbo. And until we get to next week when we have our first music rehearsal and we begin to hear the music popping off of the page and being sung wonderfully, then we go, wow, that's really good. And then that's when I get excited. The co-chairs get excited, the cast gets excited, and we go, this is going to be a great show. But for now, it could be the worst show in the world. Here we are in, the dead of winter.
So right now, we're just about to start rehearsals in just over, a week. So we're kind of finishing up putting the show together. We've gotten all the material in. We spent all of the fall putting the material together, getting it written. And then this quarter now, we actually have a class, a student-organized seminar where we spend 3 hours a week going over the material, the songs, the sketches, and putting in transitions, deciding an order, and making sure that everything that needs to be ready for when we start rehearsals is ready. And that's kind of where we are now.
So in fact, if we wanted to go into a black light number, we could. Sunday's the big kickoff meeting, so we got lots of prep going on in that, at least to get the actor production side of it, and I think we're in great shape and anxious to get started. Music starts Sunday night.
I feel like we're about to jump off a cliff, and a really exciting cliff. But we've been planning and talking about the show theoretically and conceptually since last May. And to actually get to say to some actors, here's this music that we've been working on and really poring over, do something with it. And just to see, we're gonna let so many more people into the family, and I am excited to see what they do with it.
Here we go! So this is our opening number. It's called, say it with me. One for the books!
Make sure you all have visibility.
Here's the beginning. Take a gander, because you're all going to sing portions of this.
Touch the cover, imagine what's inside. A villain or a lover, a bandit or a bride.
It's a place where brand new ones can grow. It's one for the books. Pretty good, so we changed season. Beth is Annie Middleton.
No, this is Lady Macbeth.
That's Lady Macbeth. Nickname Beth, and that is who? Wow. That's Maddie. I love it. Please. Good. Have some fun. It's one for the books. Good. Are we fast or are we slow, man? We are slow. I feel like this can all be more energetic. Yes. It's one for the books, everyone. Woo! 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's one for the books. It's also slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's one for the books. It's one for the books. Some of us may have some, but that's just me, Tarzan. It's one for the books.
I couldn't be happier with our 4 co-chairs for this year's One for the Books show. They work wonderfully together, and let me tell you, when you're trying to put a show together that's this big with a cast of 43, with 300 costumes, it's a lot of work, and it's these 4 students who are responsible for making it happen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are the co-chairs of this year's show. I'm Caitlin Fine.
I'm Kara Rifkin.
I'm Julia Beck.
And I'm Eugenio Vargas.
So last spring, right after the show closed, last year's show closed, we all had an event in the Guild Lounge. The culminating event of that evening is to announce next year's executive board. And so they announced the board, and then they got to the co-chairs, and they announced all 4 of us, which was really exciting because we were the 4 that really wanted to be able to do this, but it had been...
It's always been only 2 or 3, right?
Right, we never expected it to be 4, so it was a very, very tense build-up because we just weren't sure.
Dominic had all of us stand up as he announced our names, and everyone was applauding. Oh my God, it was really exciting.
Really exciting to get to do this with all of us because we all have something different to contribute,
That's
and
so
we
true.
had just a moment of, I have a song that I sing called Some Stupid Phrase. It was written by Will Buck. He's contributed, I think, about 12 songs to the show this year. He's phenomenally talented and a really smart writer. It's about a girl who's a little awkward, coming on stage with a big dictionary and trying to figure out how to best tell this boy she likes that she loves him. And she goes through all these words and says, no, that's not right, no, that's not right. How do I tell you? Because saying I love you isn't enough. Everybody says that. So she's trying to come up with something else to say. I've been involved in Waa-Mu. Well, I've seen Waa-Mu every year since I was about 8 years old. So it's been part of my consciousness for a really long time. But I got here and was involved in a lot of different things my freshman year, and was able to help out and sell merchandise at the shows. My sophomore year, I actually wasn't part of the board originally, but the club was a little bit of a departure from other Waa-Mu shows, and they needed a more rock sensibility, so they were looking around Chicago for a rock band to help with the writing process. And they found this band called Down the Line that I knew them personally. And I said, you know, if you ever need someone to contact them, I'm happy to help. And they said, well, now you're the band liaison on the Waa-Mu executive board. And I went, okay. And then the following year, I petitioned and was accepted officially as the special events chair. And so I worked with Kara for that whole year. And then for senior year, I applied to be a co-chair, which is something I've hoped to do for a long time. And I was accepted, and I've been in the show for 2 years. And I'm really proud of this year's show. It's really something special.
Then we'll come down. So you have that roar at the end right before the dance break? Right.
Well, there's one number that I'm doing that's the opening of Act 2, and it's called Stuck With You, and it's 7 sets of recognizable literary characters and how they're really tired of being with each other all the time. And I'm playing Dr. Frankenstein, and I have my monster with me, and it's a really smoky, kind of sexy tango number that's going to be a lot of fun, and, you know, we get to play on how I was thrilled with, you know, I created this creation, and now all of a sudden I have to be with them all the time, and I'm constantly being chased by the villagers and all this stuff. It's going to be a really fun number. I'm really excited to open the second act with that. I've been involved in Waa-Mu in some way all 4 years here. My freshman year, I was a part of the group called Waa-2, and then I was in the show and on the exec board my sophomore and junior year. Have been in it both those years and will be in it again this year as a co-chair. And it's just been an incredible experience. But coming to this campus and really learning what Waa-Mu means to the Northwestern community, to the community of alumni, to the faculty and the staff and the current students has been incredible. And to have the opportunity to work on such an incredible show for 4 years and to kind of culminate that in being one of the co-chairs is, I couldn't have asked for a better send-off from the university. The closing night will probably be my last performance at Northwestern since I'm graduating, and I couldn't think of any better way to be done.
We don't have something, like if there are 43 people on stage and we need to fill it and there's not enough of a book set to do that, maybe just having everyone. One of those numbers, which I am very involved in, is the Rachel Ray cookbook song. And I play Rachel Ray. It's a very funny kind of spin off of her bizarre characteristics. It takes place in a Barnes & Noble. We have a Barnes & Noble sign come down, and it's very clear that she's at a book signing. And she has a demonstration, some cooking utensils, and she's making some sauce on stage, and all of her followers are watching her and just in total awe of how amazing she is. I started out as a production assistant. I would attend rehearsals once a week and help out the stage management team. My sophomore year, I auditioned and was in the show. That was 2007, The Club. My junior year, I applied to be on the exec board. I was one of the special events co-chairs with Julie, and we planned a lot of events for the cast, and we were also both in the cast. So seeing what things were like, for me at least, on the board and behind the scenes and the entire planning process, which led me to apply to be a co-chair this year, and now I'm a co-chair and in the show.
And give your man a juicy slice. 'Cause I'm Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray.
I like the idea of colors, and I like the idea of like maybe all the seniors being in purple shirts or like something
And in white,
like
and
that.
white words, a way to separate.
Well, the song that I'm singing is called I Carry Your Heart, which is associated with a specific E.E. Cummings poem called I Carry Your Heart in My Heart.
And it's about a girl who is, I guess, trying to express her love for someone. And, you know, she's saying, I can't find the words, so maybe I'll use these words that are already written by E. Cummings in this poem, and maybe that'll have the effect that I want to have. It's delightful.
Right when I got here, fall quarter freshman year, I was in a group called Waa-2, and then I was on crew for Waa-Mu, the actual show, that year, which is so much fun because you get to know all of the older kids and be a part of the show. And then I was fortunate enough to be on the exec board starting sophomore year and be in the show starting sophomore year, and it's kind of been my life ever since then. I love it. I think it's an awesome. I love the tradition of it. The fact that it started in 1929 and here we are in 2009, still going strong. I think it's really, really incredible, and I love that I can meet Waa-Mu alums from 1956 and 1965 and whatever, and we all are this big family that have been working on the show.
Hold your heart in mine. It's
Last night we had our first run-through of Act 1, which is always a hold-your-breath experience because it could be just a big pile of doo-doo and then you go, how do we ever get out of this? Or it could go kind of remarkable, which is what it did last night. So I was very, very thrilled. I thought, gosh, I'm actually chuckling at some of the sketches. The dances are looking better. We have 42 tappers up there in one big number. It was a pleasant surprise. And now is always that fun part of the process where you go, it's on its feet, but it has to get better. It has to get cleaner. It has to be more precise. It has to be musically more secure. And that's what we do in these next 4 or 5 days. I think I'm going to have you just stay there and be reading and studying all during French for Romantics.
I think it's the most exciting time. Yes, when it opens, we're going to be so proud. But this is the time when we really get to make the show what we want with the people we want to be doing it with.
Okay, go!
They're after.
The Who's after?
Yes.
Yes is after the Who?
No one's after the Who.
Yes, so who is after yes?
No doubt.
So, can I have you all back in your pose?
The set is really cool. The design elements are really cool. The music is incredible. The sketches are hilarious. And everyone has this great attitude about them right now that we're all working towards the same goal. And it's a very cohesive cast that I could not be more grateful for.
And the sun never goes down. Are you surprised that I'm depressed?
These last couple of weeks, we all four at rehearsal all the time, every day. So we've been there helping to do minor rewrites, helping Dominic to think about staging things, kind of all of that. Now it's the really awesome part where we get to watch the thing come together and help those little connections and those little things kind of fit together so that in 2 weeks and 2 days, we have a show that we're ready for people to see.
When your props come off stage, they absolutely have to end up back on the props table. The apocalypse is upon us, y'all! There's nothing we can do to stop it! Me! It's all about me! It's all about me, about my beauty.
Normally, there are many things where I go, wow, the set doesn't work, these pieces aren't making sense with the song, but this has all fallen into place very, very nicely, and we're all a little alarmed about that because we keep thinking, what have we forgotten that's going to come crashing down on our heads in the next couple of days?
We are 2 weeks and 2 days out. And given that we started last May and we were 365 days out, it feels like we pushed a snowball down a mountain and now it's this giant snowball that we can't, it's wonderful to have so many voices contributing to this thing that's happened here every year for 80 years. And there are so many people who have sat in my position and Caitlin and Eugenio and Kara's position and watched as 45 people put a number up. And it's stunning. There are some moments every night, I swear, that we all have to sit and go, wow, did you see that? Did you see that turn that Britt just did? Or did you hear how Carly just sang that note? It's really exciting to have all these talented people working towards the same goal. And now it becomes about nitty-gritty. Now it becomes, how do you get on stage? How do you move that table? That screw's kind of sticking out. Can we tape it? You get away a little bit from the bigger picture, from the show as a whole, to focus on the specifics so that in 2 weeks we can step back from it and have created this really wonderful show that I hope a lot of people like.
This is the song of myself.
From its inception, Waa-Mu prides itself on being a student organization. We help to build the scenery, we write the show, we put it together. There are some professionals involved, like myself as director. My wife is a professional costume designer. She does the costumes, and we normally have professional scenic and lighting designers. But otherwise, everything else is completely taken care of by the students.
See if we can start to give it even more flow and don't kind of have, I don't want to say a second night slump. We're not ready to open yet, and you still have more space to experiment.
Dominic is our ringleader. He knows the show, he knows the process, he knows Waa-Mu better than anybody, and really understands what works and what doesn't in con for the audience that we're preparing to welcome. And we all trust him with anything. And what he says goes.
When Waldo and his trumpet happens, we'll take the blackout curtain out. And then what we'll do is we'll see the beginning of Magic of Love through the scrim.
And it's great because he trusts us too, and not just us, like the writing chairs and our music director. Like he will turn to Ian, our music director, and be like, I don't like this, what can we do? And then they'll work together.
I think we're very unique. I don't think there's anywhere in the United States that someone is putting on a campus show that is a celebration of students and creativity. The fact that we have written every bit that's in the show, the sketches, the music, and we now get to the point where we now have student choreographers and we have student orchestrators, and that's just so rare in any situation. So that's all the things that make me very proud.
But how incredible is that? I don't know many college professors or many people who are so good at what they do, who are willing to turn to 4 22-year-olds and say, hey, put on a show. I'm here to help. So he's a pretty unique and amazing guy.
Yeah. It's impossible to ever do a Waa-Mu show just by myself. It really takes the work of the students. And I have to say, I have been mightily impressed with the 4 students who've been my co-chairs, who, you know, pick up the slack in a million areas, whether it's publicity, whether it's the book writing, the lyrics, the rehearsal process. So they're making my life a lot easier.
I think the one big number that's it's still there. We knew it was going to be there, and it is still there, but it's kind of our concept of it has changed a lot, is that tap number, the Tap for Dummies number. That's our Act 1 closer.
From the very beginning, I said, I want to do a tap number that has all 42, 43 cast members on stage, and we are. I approached David Bell, who's one of my associates here in music theater, and he said, you know, I'd like to do the number, what we call, it was from a show called the production code. And it's a number in which you actually speak the words shuffle, ball change, falap, falap. They actually use the tap terminology to dance to it. And so we have created a very large scale tap number based on singers talking the words as they dance. It gets much more complicated as you go.
Anytime you put 42 people on a stage tap dancing, it's bound to be an adventure, and that's proven true.
What I think is very fascinating, when you look back at some of the Waa-Mu tapes and you'll see their tap numbers, oh, good heavens. God bless them, but they weren't much of tappers. It was pretty like basic tap. And I'm thrilled to see that in the first part of our number, there are 18 students up on stage that are all doing professional level tap. It's very, very good. Then we add the other, 28 who come on. But it's a lovely bit of show business pizzazz, and that's what we wanted to end the number with, whether it's like 42nd Street, whether it's like any of those old Busby Berkeley tap numbers, whether it is like that production code number that came from a Broadway show. It seems right for what we're doing, and especially since the show is about books, we chose Tap for Dummies as being the book in which we are going to base this number on.
We're a part of something that will still be here after we leave, and we've gotten to make our mark on it. And that's really wonderful.
So here we are. We've had a weekend of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performances. And I think that, at least for me, the response that we've gotten thus far has been overwhelmingly supportive. And I mean, I don't think we could have asked for a better opening weekend. Our houses were big. Everyone was so enthusiastic about the show. We had a great opening night party. And I don't know, I've just had the best weekend. And I'm so excited to get to do the show again. I can't wait.
Everyone poops, and that is that. Everyone poops, your dog, your cat. Adders have bladders, and so do you. Looking out for number one means doing number two.
And I love it when my students go Mu, go. I mean, when they're being really kind of silly, patriotic about it, I go, how wonderful. That's the family spirit, the fresh spirit that I think makes it a very special experience for the students.
I mean, to go into the lobby after the show is over and hear people I've never met before say to me, this is the best Waa-Mu we've ever seen. Over and over again, it just basically says it all. It says to us that all of our work is being rewarded, and it's an amazing feeling.
And the four of us are just so proud of what has been created. The cast is so proud to be a part of it. And every night, in a different way, there's just something that catches me off guard that I am proud of anew, that makes me a little emotional to think that this is something that the four of us have worked so hard on for a year. New things, exciting things, new responses, something every night that just really reminds me why I have given myself for an entire year to what this has become.
Good night, comb. Good night, home. He'll get you the money, just leave him alone. Good night, tables. Good night, chairs. What are those screams coming from downstairs? All right, that's it.
We select next year's co-chairs and next year's executive board with the input of Dominic and Barbara Butts, the managing director, and any other number of sources we pull from. And really, it's not a snap decision. It's not a one conversation thing. It's not that they've turned in an application and said something nice. These are people who've shown 4 years of dedication, of passion, of talent, of responsibility, and who are willing to stay up till 1 in the morning and read emails. And I think we have complete faith in the people that we've chosen, and will be in the audience next year.
Morning sun, and I am longing to take wing. I want the music in the wind to play and teach me how to sing.
We knew the end would be difficult for us, and what was great about the first weekend is that there was such a high for opening the show and getting an audience and really seeing that our show was well received, that we haven't had to think too much about it. But now that we're on Wednesday night, we're getting into our last kind of stretch of shows. It's hard to think about, like we've been saying for months now, this is something that's really important to the four of us and has been for a year, for 4 years. So to think about letting go is difficult, but I think as Sunday afternoon gets closer, that lyric in the senior song, the Waa-Mu Show's last matinee, is going to get harder and harder to sing.
And I think at least for me, the weirdest thing is thinking that how fast this year has gone by. Like a year ago, Saturday night, we were named as the co-chairs of the 2009 show, and I just, it feels like yesterday. It really does. And I don't know if that's a testament to how quickly time passes,
or how much fun we've been
having, or like, I don't know what it is, but I can't believe it. And I look back with such pride and also just such amazement at what we've done.
I think as we're all sitting here and reflecting, it's letting go of something, but I'm so proud. I have no regrets, and I think even though it'll be sad, I'm okay with it in a way.
We're ending on a high note. It's a great way to wrap up an amazing 4 years.
Every year on opening night, Dominic hangs a sign at the stage entrance for the cast to see when we walk in. Through these portals pass the greatest cast, crew, and orchestra of the greatest college show in America. And it's true, and every opening night for 3 years now that I've walked through those doors and see that, I have to take a moment and just kind of reflect on what an incredible thing this is that this university has every year.
These pages may fade.